This program is sponsored in part by the National Catholic Society of Foresters. Hello again and welcome to Looking at Social Justice. I'm Jim Grant, and back in December of 2018, we had a celebration for human rights, and the topic was Children Have Human Rights. And one of the presenters at that gathering at Fresno State was Esmeralda Santos, who was a panelist talking about a ministry that she is very involved with as a lawyer, Kids in Need of Defense, KIND. We're so glad to have Esmeralda with us today to be telling us about the urgent work that she and her colleagues do to accompany children who are here unaccompanied. So, could you introduce yourself, Esmeralda Santos? Tell us about yourself, your family, and perhaps how you ever got involved with this wonderful agency called KIND.
Great. Well, thank you for having me here today, Jim. And a little bit about myself. Well, I'm a Valley girl. I grew up in Madera, California. Both of my parents are immigrants, and they are from Oaxaca, Mexico. They are indigenous, and they speak Mixteco. And so my mom never went to school, and so my father only finished elementary school. And that's just because of the rural nature and the economics that they had. My grandfather couldn't afford for my father to go to school. And so they came to the United States and they became migrant farm workers, often traveling from California to Oregon, following the seasons really in agriculture. And so I grew up in Madera, and I just witnessed the inequities faced by immigrant families, such as myself. And I decided that I wanted to go to law school, really to help and advocate for my community. I decided that I wanted to go to law school, and so I went to Fresno State. I was really active as a student leader in Madera. I founded one of the Madera youth leaderships clubs out there, and it was to work with immigrant youth who are also facing issues and try to develop leadership skills there. So then after that, I went to Fresno State and I majored in philosophy, the pre-law option, and I did Chicano and Latin American studies. And after that, then I worked doing affordable housing for immigrant communities as well, and I was accepted into UC Hastings. And so my passion for serving underserved communities continued, and I joined the social justice concentration at UC Hastings, and so then I graduated and started practicing immigration law. And today I am the direct representation attorney for Kids in Need of Defense, or KIND.
Who is KIND? Tell us about this wonderful group of people you work with.
I love KIND. Since 2009, KIND is the leading national organization that works to ensure that no refugee or unaccompanied immigrant children face immigration court alone. KIND currently has 10 field offices throughout the country, and we've worked with over 19,000 children to connect them to free legal services. So that is either through providing direct legal representation attorney, or through mentoring a pro bono attorney. So we connect children with free attorneys. We work with law firms, corporations, law schools, bar associations to really be able to have allies to work with children so that we can represent them in immigration court. In California, we have legal staff in 3 offices. That's our San Francisco, our LA office, and we have here our Fresno office. And so we provide services to unaccompanied children in living over 20 counties in California. Currently, we've mentored and served over 1,100 children with our immigration offices.
Who exactly is an unaccompanied child?
Unaccompanied children are those that enter the United States before the age of 18, and at the time of entry, they were without a parent or a legal guardian. Most of them have left their home countries. They're fleeing violence, persecution, neglect, and or abandonment, and they large mainly from the Northern Triangle countries such as Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador.
What usually is going to happen when they finally reach our border?
So under the current legal framework, children apprehended at the border that arrive without a parent or a legal guardian are designated unaccompanied children. It's a designation by the Department of Health and Human Services. And so this designation entitles them to specific protections under the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act of 2008. And so once they have this designation, then they are transferred to the Office of Refugee and Resettlement, and many of them are then released to somebody that will sponsor them and provide for their care and custody. Often this is a family member who's been here in the United States. Some who may not have a viable form of reunification then remain in federal long-term foster care. Some do not. And so while unaccompanied children do benefit from some child-specific safeguards, they are expected to go to immigration court alone and fight for their right to stay here in the United States, just as any adult in immigration proceedings. And so the US government does not provide any child, regardless of age, with an attorney. And studies show that children are more likely, 5 times more likely to be able to remain in the United States if they have an attorney by their side, fighting with them in immigration court.
The numbers are really exorbitant. What we have going on right now with so many displaced people, so many migrants at the border. Regarding the unaccompanied children, are there any statistics for how many they may be?
Yes, there are. So there are over 260,000 unaccompanied immigrant children who have arrived to the United States since 2014. Nationally, California and Texas are the top 2 states that receive the release of unaccompanied children. And so from October 2013 until May 2019, California has received 33,102 unaccompanied children. And from October 2018 until May 2019, California has received 5,338 unaccompanied children. Our Fresno office alone has approximately 200 cases that cover our 8 counties.
It was nice to hear that your offices are not only in the great cities of San Francisco and LA, which usually come up as the 2 places anything happens in the state. It's where they're heavily funded. It's where there's a lot of money. But you do have an office in Fresno. So can you tell us more about when it came to the people at Kind to decide to prioritize the Central Valley and Fresno, and just why that happened? When and why did Fresno get the blessings of Kind?
Certainly, Kind opened its San Francisco and Fresno office in early 2016, and we've decided to open it in Fresno to serve vulnerable immigrant and refugee unaccompanied children in the Central Valley. And so why Fresno? It's a really good question. The truth is that the numbers indicate there's a lot of unaccompanied children here in the Valley. And when they are in immigration court, there is no immigration court in Fresno or in the Central Valley. The closest one is in San Francisco or in LA. And so the unaccompanied children who live in the Central Valley are expected to drive 2 to 5 hours to the San Francisco Immigration Court where their cases are heard. That is over a 250-mile stretch between all those counties, and between San Joaquin and Kern County. And we are currently the only legal service provider in Fresno that focuses on serving unaccompanied children in the Central Valley. And it is important work, really, because we have a physical office here, and that we provide legal and social services to the children here. And we really focus on developing authentic partnerships to provide these services to the community on a daily basis. And so our Fresno office, as I mentioned, we cover 8 counties. That includes Fresno, Kern, Kings County, Madera, Merced, San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Tulare County. And we work with close to 300 children who are predominantly from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico. We've also served children from other countries as well, such as India and Peru. The children tend to live in impoverished areas such as southern Fresno, rural communities like Mendota, and South Modesto and South Stockton.
You know, the area that you cover are 6 of our counties in the diocese. So it's nice to think that we are serving basically the same people and basically having the same phenomenon of the need to serve better those who are most vulnerable. And we all understand children being the most vulnerable people on earth are the elderly, such as myself, and then the youth and the children. So we're so glad that KIND is able to appreciate the need in the Central Valley and the Diocese of Fresno, actually, and what you're doing. So what type of, let's say, type of clients, we know where they're from, and you keep saying that triangle, which we know is one of the most dangerous places on earth, one of the most victimized by, you might say, the aggression that's gone on from the north, from our own country's involvement in those countries. What type of clients are you really working with, Esmeralda, from these countries?
Well, we hear a lot of things in the news about who are unaccompanied children. I work with them daily, and so let me just share one of my client stories, and I'm going to name him Johnny to protect his confidentiality. But Johnny grew up in a household of domestic violence in Mexico. His father abused alcohol and drugs. He constantly beat his mother and terrorized really Johnny and his siblings. They didn't have enough money for food. Johnny was always hungry. And at the age of 5, Johnny witnessed his father put gasoline all over his house and spray it. And he struck a match and began burning Johnny's house with Johnny and his mother and his siblings inside the house. Fortunately, Johnny and his siblings and his mother were able to escape, but the house burned down. Then after that, Johnny's father abandoned the family, and his mother could not make ends meet, so she left Mexico. And so that left Johnny with his 3 siblings at the age of 6 years old. They were living with a family member, but that wasn't enough to support the children. So Johnny began working at a very young age. By the age of 12, he was working and was kidnapped by a cartel. They pointed a gun and threatened to kill him if he did not obey them. Fortunately for Johnny, the cartel realized that they had the wrong person, and so he was released. But even after that, when Johnny was 16, he was working in a field and was kidnapped with him and all the workers in that field. The drug cartel in Michoacan had entered the plantation field and basically demanded that all the workers begin to join the cartel or face death. So that caused Johnny to flee from Mexico and ask for asylum on August 13th of 2015. He was placed in deportation proceedings in San Francisco Immigration Court. And so Johnny reached out to KIND, and we determined that he was eligible not only for asylum, but also for special immigrant juvenile status. That's a type of visa, and it's an immigrant visa that protects children who have experienced abuse, abandonment, or neglect. And so we were able to obtain this form of relief, and that we went to a state court for him. It's a specific immigration. This is one of the unique types of immigration relief, because unlike the other forms of relief, we are required to go to a state court to make these findings, where this judge will listen to the client's story and determine that they've been abused, abandoned, or neglected. And with this order signed from this California Superior Court judge, we apply for this immigration benefit to USCIS.
So you said that Johnny sought the help of KIND. How did he do that? How did this unfortunate kid even know that there was such a thing as KIND? How does KIND market itself?
So we do different things. One of the benefits of being a legal services provider is that when children go to immigration court, they have the San Francisco Immigration Court has an Attorney of the Day program where some of our attorneys volunteer as attorneys of the day. And so when you see children coming in, you are able to represent them just for that hearing before that immigration judge. And we generally do an intake with them, a quick intake right before immigration court, and we help them ask for more time while they search for attorneys. So that is one way that they will come into contact with kind attorneys. We're also listed on a legal services provider sheet where that is given to children who go to immigration court. And we've been here for 3 years now, so now clients are referring other clients so that people know. But we've been working really hard to work with school administrators so that they know that KIND is open, that we exist, and that if they identify an unaccompanied children, that they send them our way.
Now, you did say that this is your name of Johnny is just to save his anonymity. How typical is this case of this Johnny? How similar is it to the other 199 that are your clients here in Fresno? How similar are the cases, or how different are the situations of your many, many unaccompanied children?
Well, each child comes and they have their own life story. They have experienced, they may have experienced abuse or abandonment. Many of them are eligible for one or multiple forms of relief. And so, for example, 2 of my clients were eligible for 3 forms of relief, asylum, special immigrant juvenile status, and a T visa. And I would say about 1/3 of my cases are eligible for special immigrant juvenile status. But it really is specific to each individual and whether they meet the eligibility of the immigration benefit.
And that comes to the question that is, why is it so critical for a child to never appear in a court without an attorney? And that would be why KIND has a mission that is irreplaceable. So how important and urgent is it that these kids are accompanied in court?
Well, you could imagine that for a child who doesn't speak the language and is here in a new country, and oftentimes they're released to a sponsor who English may not even be their first language as well. That could be, immigration court is a very difficult process, and immigration laws are very complex. It would be really hard for them to understand and be able to articulate their stories, to be able to explain to the judge what immigration form of relief they are eligible for. In immigration court, there's no right to appointed counsel. This means that more than 60% of unaccompanied children do not have lawyers in the United States. 60%. Out of those 60%, only 1 in 10 unaccompanied children without an attorney are able to win their case. 1 out of 10. And so there is a very high need. The children that do have an attorney are 5 times more likely to win their case. And without due process, the United States risks sending these children back to grave harm, and that will, where their well-being and even their lives may be in danger. Somebody like Johnny, he may not have been able to know what are the requirements for asylum, what are the requirements for special immigrant juvenile status. And so an attorney is really critical to help them assess their case and be able to file the appropriate paperwork to be able to move forward, and so that they can win asylum or SIJS or any type of relief they're eligible for. For example, Johnny, he was granted legal permanent residency last year. Actually, no, just a few months ago, this year. But we applied for him in 2017. And so that was a really long process, but having an attorney along the way to walk him towards the different steps necessary was really critical for his success.
You've been mentioning that there are really different forms of relief that the children are possibly eligible for. So to distinguish what they might be and with terms that I think we are hearing more and more as people are presenting themselves at the border seeking, for example, asylum. Can you distinguish for us, Esmeralda, the different types of relief that the immigration court could help the client become eligible for? So the first one, I think, is asylum. So tell us what that actually means and why that would be really, is that maybe the best one to get or maybe not?
Well, there are all of the immigration applications and their eligibility are different, and what the benefits they receive are also different. So it's really important for each person to consult with an immigration attorney. And so for asylum, the general overview is asylum is meant for people that fear returning to their home country. And the basic elements are that they must prove that they have experienced some kind of past persecution, or they have a well-founded fear of future persecution. And this persecution must be based on account of their race, their religion, national origin, political opinion, or particular social group. And so when you break that down, then persecution really means the infliction of harm or suffering. And so that can include physical or non-physical harm. And we also can include the harm to the family that a child may have witnessed. So when I have cases and my clients have experienced either physical abuse by one of their parents, then that is a type of a case that we can apply for asylum for. And so,
has asylum become, in this present administration, and I think there's a sheet that was handed out from KIND showing that over the last 2 years, children's rights and your work has only gotten harder because of the further restrictions that have been placed on unaccompanied children.
Certainly, we've seen changes in the current process of how asylum is treated. We've also seen changes in court cases that have really dictated how certain procedures have changed. And so the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, this allowed for provisions for children to be able to make immigration court somewhat easier for them and more child-friendly. For example, a child that was here and was designated an unaccompanied child could first present their asylum claim before an asylum officer. And so what that means is that they would go before a private interview instead of being in open court. And in this interview, they would be able to talk about their life and why they fled their home country. It is not an adversarial setting such as immigration court, where they're being presented to defend themselves, not only before the judge, but also the government attorney who's arguing for their deportation. And so we've seen some changes in that. So a child must apply before the age of 18 to be able to continue with that safeguard. And then if the child has reunified with one or both parents, then they are no longer eligible for that benefit. And those are just some of the changes that we've seen. If a child is denied, if the child is not granted asylum before the asylum officer, then it gets referred to the immigration judge, and now they must present their case de novo and be able to articulate it before the judge and the government attorney.
Is there anything more you wanted to share about the special immigrant juvenile status?
Well, for this type of benefit, it is really critical that children are able to see an attorney. In California, they would want to seek a California licensed attorney because, as I mentioned, you have to go to a California Superior Court to get these findings of abuse, abandonment, or neglect, and then after that, then they can apply for this type of visa. So we've seen many children that are eligible for this form, but many practitioners may not be aware of this legal remedy.
The T visa, the U visa, how important or how difficult to receive that?
So the T visas are for victims of human trafficking, and human trafficking can consist of bringing a child or recruiting him or her once they are here in the United States. The trafficker can sometimes be a family member, and that who forces a child to work or to pay this debt that keeps increasing for them. This type of relief is really a nice form of relief because it's actually quite fast. The USCIS reviews this application, and you could get a decision within a year and then be granted the T visa status to be able to stay here legally.
We have about 2 minutes, Esmeralda, so would you want to tell us something about anything else we haven't talked about, what happens during the hearing, or how people could help join the effort with KIND?
Certainly. So it is very critical that a child always attend their immigration court proceedings. I think that the children sometimes are afraid to go. However, in the first hearing is usually a master calendar hearing, which is procedural in nature, meaning that the merits of the case is not discussed. The judge wants to see that the child is here and that they are safe. They want to let the child know that they must change their address with the immigration court within 5 days, and that they must appear at all of their hearings, or the judge will issue an in absentia removal order. And they also warn them against seeking advice from a notario, who are those are people that are not eligible to practice immigration law and would not be able to represent them. And the second type of hearing is an individual or a merits hearing, and that occurs once the asylum application and the evidence is submitted, and that's what determines the merits of the case. And how someone can help we have so many different ways people can help. So number one is we're always searching for pro bono attorneys. We will mentor and explain everything that needs to happen in either an asylum or SIJS or a T visa or a U visa case. We will help them. We will connect. Usually they don't speak the language, so we're always looking for interpreters. So if you know anybody that knows Spanish, an indigenous language, or you can reach out to KIND, and we will pair you with a pro bono attorney, and then they can help the children as they are meeting with their attorneys.
What number should they be calling to be in touch with the office, Esmeralda?
Certainly. Our office in Fresno, our number is 559-240-4184. They can also go to our website, Kids in Need of Defense, or they can email info@supportkind.org. And yeah, they can reach out to us and see how they can be of support to our organization and our mission.
We only had the 30 minutes for our program. We didn't get to cover as much as we may have wished. We look to have you back, Esmeralda, to tell us more about how we could be cooperating more with what KIND is doing. Kids in Need of Defense. Let's see what we can do to help our lawyers to defend the youth who are coming here seeking refuge. And we thank you, Esmeralda, for being with us today.
Thank you.